All right. So we've got the skeletons ready for just for your front page for right now. We don't have any inside pages done. I was just telling Randy and Brian that since there's a bit of a learning curve, we like to just kind of roll it out one thing at a time. Just makes things easier if you're only learning one page. And then once you feel comfortable, we can move it to some of the other pages, your inside cover, opinion, things like that. So just so it's one last thing, I will share this. All right. So can you all see that now?
Mhm.
Okay. So this first page just sort of explains how the skeletons work. And this is a sample budget of how you would do this. So the skeleton naming, all of the ones we have right now are called A1 because we only have your covers. So the first segment is which page it is. So the ones that just say A1 are for online days. And then A1P is for print days, just because you have some different information for those days, because obviously we don't need barcodes and stuff like that on online days. And then the second number is how many story starts are on that page. And then the final number is just which skeleton it is. So, for 3 story starts, we have more than one skeleton available. So if you want option 1 of 3 story, option 2, there's also potentially an ad. So if you've got an ad, then there's a version for it with the ad.
So Alicia, in the catalog that you've sent us, those names are all attached to the different designs. So it's just a copy and paste for our editors here.
Right, exactly. So this one, you'll see it's A1.3.1. So you just need to note that on your budget.
Yeah. So we're just looking at a picture and just taking the name off the picture and putting it on the budget.
Yep.
It looks complicated until you realize, oh, I'm just doing a copy and paste.
Yep, exactly. So this sample budget, so if you want A1.3.1, you just write A1.3.1, and then you put position 1 and put what you want there, position 2, what you want there, position 3, what you want there. So
and again, those positions are numbered on the illustrations.
Yep. Yeah. So this that you see here under each skeleton is literally, with the exception of the fact that there's X's in the skyboxes up here, it's literally exactly what the designer pulls onto their page. So when they pull on this onto their page, it has all the information. It has these headlines already filled with X's, so they just have to put the content in, and it's labeled 1, 2, and 3. So they've got exactly the same thing that you do. One thing we do ask is when you put position 1, 2, and 3, that you also make sure to note like position 1, centerpiece, rail, bottom. That's not mandatory, but it's just one extra step that helps us make sure that we've got everything.
Sure. Mistakes happen, I suppose, otherwise, right? Yeah.
Right. Yep. Just one double check, And then with these, the headlines are then written to spec, but we do not expect that you'll make a new file, especially for those FNS stories, because then you'd have to, for your local stories, you can rewrite the headline in the Google Doc, or you can note the headline on the budget. But for FNS stories, just note it on the budget because we have no expectation that you would create a new file for an FNS story. I imagine you have better things to do.
And then put the new headline, new subhead, put it in red like you've got it?
Red would be nice. That'll help us make sure that we see it. But if you forget to do that, that's not the end of the world. But just adding it at the end of the budget line like this. Yep. And then, designers are trained that they should be looking for that on pages with skeletons on the budget. So just putting that. And then we do have a couple of things that we added in here. Like if you're adding a mug, that's going to take about 20 words out of the word counts. Things like that.
Yeah, the one other thing that we might want to make note of with an FNS story, and this comes up with Paul Scott's story every time, is he puts a Rochester date line on it. And we don't like to have the Rochester date line on stories in our paper just because I don't know, it kind of makes it like a foreign entity then, you know, whereas it's really happening right here in town.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
we
Yep.
usually make a note
Yeah.
like that on the budget. And I know sometimes it's been seen and sometimes it's been overlooked, but I don't know if we've really colored it on the budgets. And frankly, it's not the end of the world if we miss one, but you know, it's nicer to get it off than to have it.
Yep. Yeah, adding a little color or just making it bold will help make
I'm
sure
a fan of
designers.
the yellow highlighter.
Yep, that's always nice too. I do that a lot. So yeah, and then from there, it's just that, you know, these are all your options. So the way it's set up is that A1.3.1 and A1.3.add are almost identical. It's just some changes in the word counts to accommodate the ads. And then you'll see on the left on each one, it'll tell you what point size the headline is, and then how much you can write for the headline. So, you know, for this one right here, it's 4 decks at 32 points and it's 10 characters per deck. So that way you can write a headline that just exactly fits. So we get the headline that you want, you know, and we don't have to do, you know, sometimes we have to do the back and forth in Slack of this doesn't fit. And especially on these rails, of course, it's hard to get those quite right.
So when you say 10 characters, is that counting an M and a W as one character or 1.5?
We just do counting everything as one character and not, you know, the way that, you know, you and I were taught how to do it with W's being 1.5 and I's being half, and, you know, just do one, because designers can still, you know, change the point size a little bit or change the tracking a little bit to make things fit. We're trying not to make it too terribly complicated on all of you. So yeah, just a straight count.
How will we know the point size of it?
So this is just telling you that this is the point size this is set up to be. So for this cover, we want it to be 32 points. And so in order to keep it that, you can make it 4 decks at 10 characters. But then that way, you know that when you write this, if you do 8 characters per deck, that then we can bump it up a bit from that 32.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And if we say in that rail, we would want to do, and this would probably be rare, but say we wanted to do like a 1-word big, you know, busted.
Yep.
And then go to the subhead for the real headline.
Right. Yep, we can absolutely do that. This is, you know, it's a guideline. So like for this centerpiece, you know, it says 60 point, 1 deck at 17 characters for this headline. You know, if you had a big headline that was, you know, like 2 8-letter words and you wanted it big, you just have to let the designer know that. This is a framework so that we're communicating with the same thing to start with. You know, so if this is exactly what you want, that's fine. But, you know, this doesn't stop the designer from, you know, having creativity and saying, you know, if we do this a little bit, it's going to look better. Or you from saying, you know, I like this setup, but I want that CP to be, you know, stronger. I want 2 really big lines for the main headline. You know, there's still room for all of that. We just have to communicate it. This just makes sure that we're all starting on the same page.
Okay.
Yes. So, and yeah.
Randy, one thing I guess I want to point out here too is just knowing from these designs how many words in each story fit on the cover is going to be useful to know for the jump page, how much you have left to fill or whether it's too much to fill. I mean, we'll be able to actually know that 1,000 word story, you know, 425 words of it gets on the cover. So that's 575 that's got to go inside. Making that judgment on the jump page is kind of a blind spot that we have. I know when I filled in a few nights ago, I think it was last week when Meredith was off, we needed like 1,000 words to fill the jump page because it was like a couple of 400-word stories on the cover. There wasn't anything that came over onto the jump page hardly. So, you know, it's like, you know, the story lengths can vary pretty widely, and you either have a lot or a little go over to the jump page. But now we'll know exactly how many words.
Right.
more or less, within a very close estimate.
Yeah, I mean, word counts aren't always exact on length, but yeah, this gives you a very good idea. And then, like I said, on that first page, it's got some of our elements. It says, so this is 425, but if you add 2 mug shots, then you're going to want to subtract 40 words from what you're expecting to fit on the cover here. And then, yep, that definitely makes accommodating jumps easier. I know that's difficult for a lot of our editors to figure out how much is going to be on the front, so how much jump space, and
Right.
across the board, that's tricky.
Or that you don't want to put that 300-word story in a 425-word spot. Or if you do want to put it there, okay, I got to get a couple mugs and maybe a pull quote or something to fill that out.
Yep. Yeah, or a photo that can be cropped to be more vertical, or whatever it is. Yep. Yeah, so it should, like I said, the goal of this is to make it easier for you to budget and to get exactly what you want without having to have a lot of back and forth with designers. Because I know that you all have a lot of other things pulling on your time. So the best we can communicate things up front, the better. So we've got all kinds of options here for, the different CP sizes. So if you want big one, and then, like I said, these are the options that we see you using most frequently. So this is what we set up. But if you want something completely different than this, that's totally fine too. It's okay to note on your budget, we won't be using any of the skeletons. Just make this really gigantic, or, whatever it is.
Or if one of the skeletons, if you would roll backwards a little bit. Oh, never mind. You've got one there where we've got a story. Oh, no. On this one, if we wanted to strip a story across the top. Yeah.
Yep.
There. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So we've got a lot of different options. And then, these have photos in a lot of them, but of course you're not always going to have a photo in things. So, we just communicate that as well. So if you want this, but you don't have a photo to go in this secondary rail spot, we can figure that out as well. Or if you'd like something like this one, but for the CP, you have 2 photos that you want to get up here. So you're telling the designer this is about how much space you want the CP to take up in total, but you want there to be 2 photos, all of those things. It's just communicating with us.
Sure.
So how do we relay these to the copy editor, just by the skeleton name? Start with the same name.
Yeah, so each one of the skeletons has a name right here at the top of it.
Got it.
And so you just tell them which one you want.
On the budget that we give them, Brian.
And the daily
The
budget?
daily budget.
Daily budget.
Right.
Yep.
So you have page A1, and then you would just put skeleton A1P.3.4. And then the designer would know this is exactly the one that you want. And they would pull this on when they start building the page.
Yeah, that would be a huge time saver.
Yeah, just put it on the same line, or maybe just right under the line that says the page number.
Yep.
So it's the first thing they see before they see the stories for that page.
Yep.
So we're not starting with inside pages right off the bat. We're just doing the front page.
Right. Right now we only have the front page set up. And then once you tell me that you feel comfortable doing the front page, we will set up inside covers.
And Alicia, actually, I'm noticing the flag on these that are the non-weekend. So the one that we're looking at right now, they're all modeled off of the weekend, because they say midweek. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So go back up to one that says weekend. Yeah,
Okay.
there. So where the word weekend is, our Tuesday edition says midweek. They're all in that same architecture.
They are the same amount of space is taken up at
They
the top.
are. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it should be all right. I'll double check that, but I believe they are the same. So I don't foresee that being an issue.
Okay. Yeah, I think these are great. I mean, it's just going to be nice for ease of use on your end, and I think it's really nice for quality control and just kind of having some anticipation of what we're going to get on our side. The variety and the sizing of the headlines has been kind of a challenge for us. We probably don't always have a lot of good information on our side of like what character count constitutes a good rail headline. And we get a lot of like 19-point headlines on the top of our weekend edition, sometimes with the rail, and it's like,
and we have some guides put together as far as headline character counts and inside page counts and things like that. But those guides that we have put together as of right now are all for the styles that everyone else is using. And you guys have your own different set of fonts. So, those things are going to be similar for you, but not exactly the same. And this is set up using your fonts. So it's exactly how your paper is. So it's accurate to you, whereas the other ones are going to be definitely more ballparks for you.
I was going to ask you, Alicia, if a designer will let us know if the character count of our headlines is out of whack with the skeleton, but I think actually that shouldn't be an issue. We need editors on our side to write headlines that are appropriately written for the dimension that they're in, so that we aren't in that position. We got to be really attentive to, because on the online side, we're doing all these very wordy headlines for SEO. We got to write different headlines for print each time. We got to be kind of mindful of the different platforms and how you present headlines.
Right. Yep. And that's that training that I'm working on putting together for reporters, so that when they are writing their stories, they can keep in mind the different needs of print and SEO, and write at least suggested headlines for both, to make things easier for you all when you're editing stories. Because I've been in your shoes doing that too, and I know how hard it is when a reporter wrote, a really great headline for the web, but it's like that is 4 times longer than anything I can use in print, and it's easier sometimes to come up with those headlines when you're the one writing the story as you're writing to do it. So that training will help the reporters to do that. So you guys have a number of options. So, it'll take a little while probably to familiarize yourself with everything you can select. But, I think we did pretty well everything that we've seen you do. I know Michael went back at least a few months and made sure he made a version for everything. So
I'm surprised to think that we had a vertical photo ever in the paper. I don't think Joe shoots verticals. I don't think his camera works that way. It only takes horizontal shots.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of our photographers in the company have ones that must not turn to do that.
Is there a vertical in the list?
Yes. Yes, there are some vertical ones.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Yep.
That is a big picture.
Every once in a while, we get a picture of the plumber building.
Yep. So, any other questions on this that I can help you out with? As you're working on things, when questions come up, just let me or whoever the hub manager on duty know, and we can help you work through things. And if, as you're putting things together, there's a setup that you want to use regularly that we don't have on this, all you have to do is let us know, and we can add to this really easily. We keep this on our IMOP website that we have, so that we can constantly update it. So anytime that you send us a note and say, we'd like we need actually a couple of, 5 story starts, or, a centerpiece with 2 stories because we're doing a lot of packages lately, or, whatever, we can put that together and add it in for you. And what doesn't take us long at all. So whatever you need, you just let us know and we'll make it happen.
And we find these layouts in that that link that you sent us a few weeks ago. Is that where you'd have a book form? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And you all have the link to our IMOP website that we have set up for you with all the editor tools and everything.
Not sure. Why don't you resend it if you don't mind?
Okay. Yeah. It's in the email signature of all the Design Hub managers. So anytime we send you a message, you always have it.
Where do the little red story starts come from? Or are they just for illustration?
Yeah, this is just so the designer knows which story is which, and that you know. So position 1. So when you put on your budget, position 1, then the designer knows this is 1, and this is 1. So we're just calling them by the position names to help us communicate.
Yeah, those numbers aren't reader facing. It's not going to show up in the paper.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, those get deleted before your stories are even actually put on. So
we can't tell the reader to read this first.
Well, that's what the design is supposed to do, is tell them where to go first. If we're doing our job, my people are telling your readers that already.
I think this will work. I think this will work. I'll be using it first.
Okay.
Do you want me to start tonight,
Yeah,
Saturday?
we can start right away. Yeah. Let's
Okay.
just start, and then, as questions come up, we'll work through it with you.
Right.
Like I said, there's definitely a learning curve, especially when it comes to, working all your headlines. So it's going to add a little bit of time to your work when you first start. But like I said, I talked with all the editors who are doing this so far, and every one of them agrees that once they're used to it, it's saving time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Not having to fix the headline on the back end.
right, exactly.
Easier.
And then, if you want a specific design, not having to type out, I want the 5 columns on the left to be this, and, with a big headline at the top of it. And, because we're just starting with that already. We're all on the same page. So
Yep.
It saves time. Tonight it might not save you time, but, hopefully by, next week it's easier,
Right.
and it's saving you some time. And then as you go forward, more time every day as you get more used to all the skeletons, and automatically which ones you like. And
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, if you could resend this to me at least,
yeah, no problem.
because God knows I might have lost your email from a couple weeks ago.
All right, no problem. I will send it out along with this recording.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, let's make sure Ken and Meredith get a chance to see this too.
Okay, yeah, I'll email it to everyone that we had on the list for attending this meeting, so everybody will have it.
Yeah, oh, and Jason wasn't here, and Pat. We're under 50% here. That's not great. Okay, well.
It's a Wednesday. It's almost lunchtime.
Right,
I get it.
Right.
That's why we've got this record function. And if anybody, if any of those people have questions that they didn't get to ask since they weren't here, I'm available. I think everyone has my cell phone number, and it's in my email signature too. So
Alicia, tell me if the practice that I do is good, bad, or otherwise.
okay.
Sometimes I will leave 2 photos in a Google folder,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll mark, on the budget line, the picture of the man is the main art, the picture of the dog is the secondary art.
Mm-hmm.
Optional secondary for the jump.
Yep.
Is that how the designers would like?
Yes, that's perfect. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, letting them know that it can go inside and that it's optional, so that they know if there's a space issue, they can trim it. I'm planning to send an email out soon to editors. We have instituted some very strict quality control standards on the Design Hub to address some issues that have been happening. And one of those issues addresses things not getting in because designers thought they were optional when they weren't optional. So noting things as optional when they're optional for you is going to help you out a lot, because those designers not wanting to get dinged for skipping something are going to be asking. If they don't have room for things, they're going to be asking in Slack. So to cut down on those Slack questions, if you mark it optional for the jump in the first place, that's going to help them out a lot.
Okay, great. Great.
All right. Anything else?
Thanks for all the work.
Yeah, of course. Thank you all for everything that you do. We appreciate the good relationship that we have with all of you at the PB. We appreciate you all.
Yeah, back at you. It's always been fun to approach you and to work out problems with you.
Mhm.
It's great.
Yeah.
And this is great. I mean, I was excited about this. I emailed you before you were even done with your
Yeah,
presentation.
I didn't even finish sharing all my gifts or anything.
Yeah, I just think this is such a good thing from a workflow issue and quality control, and it's going to open up some options to us that maybe we don't even automatically think about. I mean, we kind of fall into the trap of using the same layouts over and over again, and
Mm-hmm.
so there's just a lot of going for this. I really like it. So
So
We're not doing the inside not doing the inside fronts yet, but I can see. Oh, there's sometimes when I get the paper, I'm going, what is that? That's not at all what I had in mind.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. So to help get on the same page with those inside fronts too is really helpful. And for some of those inside pages that are sort of set up similar every time, but not quite, like opinion pages, where we have an opinion page template on the page right now when designers open it, but we don't always want to stick to that, and there's different things that you're looking for. So having that set up too makes things really nice.
Do you have a time frame as to when we'll start getting some of those other pages set up, or is it kind of just as Michael?
Would you like me to have my team start working on them right now?
Just whatever is feasible on your end.
Okay.
I mean, I'm excited about this. I think it's an improvement everywhere we can use it in the paper. But I mean, don't knock yourselves out for it, I don't think, or anything.
Okay.
But I mean, I would love to be there sooner rather than later.
Okay. Yeah, we'll start working on them. It'll take a few weeks, but
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Great. Excited.
All right. I'm excited too. Let me know what questions come up. Like I said, I'll send this recording and the links out after this, so everybody's got them. And just let me know what comes up. Anything that, if you have suggestions for improvement or how we can make this easier on you, I always want to hear those things.
Yeah.
I live for improving things, so I always want to hear.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let us know if there's stuff we're not carrying through on our end or that could be improved too. We want to know about that. And thanks to Michael for all his work putting these together and looking back and seeing what we've used. I mean, that sounds like it was no small amount of work. So we're really grateful for that.
All right. I will pass that on. Yes, he does a wonderful work with these. He's phenomenal. So
Good deal.
Super.
And thanks for your new guy working on Life. He does some really fun and interesting layouts for Meredith. It's been kind of fun to see how that comes out. So
good.
You've told me his name and I've forgotten it. I'm sorry, but
Yep.
but he's creative. So
Great.
all right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alicia. Thanks,
Yep.
Brian and
Enjoy the
Randy
rest
for
of your
being here.
You too. Bye.